Pather, and I am the chair of AAXO, the Association of African Exhibition Organizers. And as part of our series of interviews and podcasts with leaders from the exhibition and event industry around the world, today I have with me Projeni Pather. And Projeni Pather, you may all be quite familiar with, is one of our own who comes from South Africa, who was the COO of the CTICC a few years ago. I can't even remember how long it's been. The time has flown so fast. And he subsequently moved to China and has established a career there. So welcome, Joey. And I know it's been an interesting journey in China. So tell us a little bit about where you're at now and where did you begin when you went there?
Okay, hey, thank you, Projeni, and thank you, everyone. I think, yeah, so I moved to China in early 2016, and I was appointed by Deutsche Messe of Hanover. So they were appointed by the Guangdong government to develop a venue, an exhibition venue, purposeful venue, which was going to develop in 3 phases. So in total, we developed 120,000 square meters in a period of 3 years. 50,000, first set was 50,000. We developed a second building of 20,000, which homed our conference center and what we named the Robotation Academy, because we realized industry 4.0, how we transition sort of traditional operation to AI and moving on to robotics. So we knew that's where the market was changing in manufacturing. So we developed the academy there, and then we built the last phase, which opened last year, which was another 50,000 square meters of exhibition space, purpose-built exhibition space. Yeah, and then I was offered an opportunity to move to Macau with the Galaxy Entertainment Group, which is the largest gaming company in the world. And they, as part of their diversification plan, want to developing an exhibition and conference center in Macau that will service the country. So yeah, so I've been here since November last year. We in the process of developing a venue here that will be home to a 700-key on-site hotel, 10,000 square meter purpose-built conference center, 600-seater auditorium, and a 16,000-seater arena. Because linked to our gaming, we will host a lot of international concerts and big marketing events. So that was a mix that this area needed, and that's what that's our plan. And we plan to open that in 2021, sort of mid-year next year.
Wow.
Yeah. So my time in China has been interesting, and it was very different from what we know in South Africa. The speed, I mean, my first building we built in 9 months from the time we broke ground to our first event, and we hosted 380,000 visitors. So the scale, and that was in a 3-day exhibition. So the scale of what you do is so much bigger, but in terms of complexity, there's nothing different that we do back home.
So it's just multiplied, that's all.
It's just multiplied, and because of population. Yeah? The people that lived around my center, we had a population of 1.2 million that lived within a 3-kilometer radius of the center. The city that the venue was built in had a population of 10 million. Yeah. Guangdong has a population of almost 40 million. Guangzhou was our neighboring city, has 21 million. So if you just look at in terms of the numbers, it puts it into context where we are in the different cities in South Africa.
Now tell me, I mean, being in China at this particular point where everything has all begun, I mean, yes, you're not in Wuhan, but you're there in the thick of things. And it must have been quite an interesting journey, a scary one at that as well. So how did, and I'm sure you still have, you're still in liaison with Guangdong province as well and your colleagues there. And being part of the industry, I'm sure you are liaising across the board. How did the event and exhibition industry survive lockdown in China? And what support did the government provide?
So I mean, like everywhere, any mass gathering was shut down. So in terms of the industry, was closed off completely. The difference is a lot of these venues are state-owned. So from a venue perspective, a lot of them have the support of government, and people were preparing if they needed to use those venues for other purposes. However, knowing, I mean, if you look at China being sort of the manufacturing hub for the world, and they know the role. I mean, exhibition is such a key focus in terms of China, because they believe that that is the sort of the gateway to the rest of the world. So in terms of the strategies, all the way from national government, the exhibition industry is a key industry. And every regional government, every provincial government has to have it as part of their strategy locally. So people said, okay, hey, we cannot meet. What can we do? So we kept sort of the interest going, but we had to cancel shows. If you saw, Canton Fair went virtually. So the very big key trade shows all went virtually. But in terms of the support from the government, has always been, hey, we'll get through this period, and how do we ramp up post the period? And that lasted for months, and that happened from just before Chinese New Year, and only 2 weeks ago you had the first sort of show being officially opened. Shanghai got their permission to have meeting or conferences and exhibitions last week, and yesterday it was announced Guangdong province will now be open for meetings and exhibitions. So yeah, you went through a sort of 4 or 5 month period of nothing, but the support was unwavering in terms of government and stakeholders.
And in terms of suppliers to the industry, what kind of support did the government provide for them besides the venues now?
I think that was tricky because the lifeline was shut down. So specifically, I can speak to in Macau. So in Macau, there's been, and in parts of China, there's been huge stimulus packages that were sort of put in Macau. We had almost $10 billion going back into industries of all types. So whether it's your suppliers, restaurants, because these are people that are heavily affected. Because I mean, everyone takes the glory of economic impact when you record your exhibition and your events benefit. So now you have the knock-on effect when the industry is hurting. It has that same ripple effect into the rest of the industry. So these people have qualified in terms of what they do and how they do, and they've been given sort of stimulus packages to get through it. Like I mentioned before we started, Macau is very fiscally stable, and they've given every citizen. So we've if you rent government property, no charge, zero rent. All our utilities have been zeroed, so no lights, no water. Your property taxes zero, and every citizen gets $3,000 a month to help support local businesses. So you get to spend money in local, and they put a cap per day. So it's not like you can go out and buy TVs and stuff, but like, so it's $300 a day that you're allowed to spend. That stimulates local economies. And us as a business, we had to adapt our payment systems. It works on like the octopus cards you have in Hong Kong. We have the M-Pass here, that people can use that to pay and keep those small businesses going. We as Galaxy, from being socially responsible, we hosted an exhibition last week, the first exhibition here, for SMMEs, just to support SMMEs. We took nothing as the venue. We want no fees. We supported them from our current property, but to be able to showcase what they're doing. So I think in that way they've been very supportive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's quite an interesting one, because I was on a webinar yesterday and having a discussion with SA Tourism, and where we spoke about we want our exhibitions to go live again, but where does that responsibility lie between the venues and the organizers and the suppliers in terms of providing the safe environment, the fees that venues are going to charge now for the providing the safety, putting the safety protocols in place. So where does it lie, and how? So it's been interesting to you to say now that you were able to offer those SMMEs the venue as an opportunity to.
So. And I mean, just on fees. And so yesterday I was involved in a think tank, and we had participants from Australia, some of the guys from Informa, with some of the KL team members, and one of the key elements was pricing. Obviously, we had organizers on the think tank as well and venues, so it was a good two-sided perspective. And from our property, one of the things we worked at, because of the social distancing, so something as simple as sort of space. So if you now have been forced to order double the space, because that's what the law and if I take it in terms of a banqueting, a table of 10 can now only be a table of 5. So so when we do the math on that, potentially the increase in costs could be between 30 to 40%. So we've taken the decision as a company, and I think this has been followed by many of our partners in the region, is not to pass that on. So we've shrunk our margin to pass it on to the industry so that they can get through this period. But communicating well to say, hey guys, we want to help people get through this, but it obviously is not for everything, because if when things normalize, we'll have to normalize. But you shouldn't be carrying the burden on your own. We shouldn't be carrying. So it's how we find that, because there is an increase in cost in organizers, big exhibition organizers, like the guys said from Informa, they always have these cocktail parties on the first day of the event, which is a networking opportunity, is why people go to events.
Yes.
If they're not going to be allowed to, then what is the new format? How can they do it? You know, what do we do? If you look at for exhibitions, your cost on your packaging, because if you can't let people sit down, you have to have packed lunches. So there's an increase in packaging. So there's a lot of the venues saying, okay, as a venue, as our commitment to industry, we'll take that on. Yeah, you know. But does every venue follow that? That's a discussion the association must have. But we believe that it's a year that we want to. It's about surviving this year,
Yes.
and to keeping the industry alive rather than trying to make margin, make profits for the year itself. Let us get through this crisis together, so we protect the industry, yeah, and we all in the industry, and then we look at margin. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's all about sustainability right now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Venues need events, and we have that relationship long term. And if organizers have to fold because of the lack of events, because they can't get exhibitors
yeah,
on, it affects the ripple effect on the venues, on the suppliers.
yeah,
So we're all in this together. And I think
yeah,
communication
definitely.
is key. So,
Yeah,
Jerry, another question that I have for you is that, so there's been some exhibitions that have opened already. We've seen that, and
yeah.
we've been following it in the media. Have there been any repercussions, negative repercussions at this point in time, from lack of social distancing, any cases picked up at the exhibitions
Yeah.
where COVID was transmitted and things like that? Was it too quick?
No, I think I don't personally. I don't think. I mean, from my own perspective, I don't think it was too quick. If you look at the way they've the exhibition that opened, they put the right practices into place. Obviously, it's people, so to be able to control the movement of people beyond a certain point, how you handle registration is one thing. How you get people through the turnstiles is one thing. But once people are inside, it's a bit it's a responsibility. So, do they're strict in terms of people wearing masks and having sanitizers all over the place, and how you space out your stand. So that it's difficult to say that was good or bad, but people follow the rules because people want to get back. Speak to one of the journalists in China yesterday about the show, because I said, let me just get some information on the show for you. It was one of their it was a car show, and it was, in terms of sales, they sold almost 24,000 units in 3 days. And part of it was because the knock-on effect, because people are nervous about sort of public transport, so the car sales market just had a spike. Speaking to my colleagues in the US yesterday, I spoke to some guys who run a Honda franchise, and they've also had a spike in sales because preparing for going back. So you have the spin-off of different industries. So the next big show that's coming up in China in Hainan, which is the seaside, is also a car show, because obviously people have caught on, hey, this is a key thing that's happening. And like I said before we started, is the luxury market. So we think things like, yes, so people want to sort of vent a little bit and spend a little bit. So your jewelry shows and your watch shows are all prepping. They think people will spend in this part of the world. How it affects different parts of the world, I think is it's to be seen.
Yep.
Yeah,
And from an attendee perspective, so
yeah,
they put all the processes in place. Have you spoken to anybody in terms of? I mean, when we see the pictures, we just see masses of
yeah,
people,
yeah.
and it looks like, are they social distancing? Are they not? How conscious are they of their spaces? Are they operating differently?
So yeah, so in China, I mean, sort of pre-COVID, there was always rules like we have in South Africa in terms of capacity, how many people allowed, and especially in the facilities, you have to have sort of third-party police that come on site, and I think that's been enhanced now. So you're given a number, and those numbers have all been reduced. So in Disney, their numbers are reduced in their restaurants by 50%. Their rides, I think they reduce, they have a 30% capacity. So people were given guidelines what the ticket sales can be, how you've got to space yourselves, and that's been strictly followed. So nobody is breached because you don't want to compromise the industry again. If you break the rules, people pull back sort of these privileges, and so I think it's important that we follow the rules. Again, it's a long game, and you don't want to try and have short-term gain and drive 50,000 people through your door, and then we shut down the industry a week later. We'd rather have 20,000 people through the door. Yeah, I think exhibitors start appreciating because the 20,000 are becoming a quality people. And if you look at what happened in the auto show, that they were buyers, so serious buyers, not just size. People went to get their business done. I think that works. In terms of what you're doing. So us as a business, although as a resort, we have our own labs. So we've got all these we're doing the swabs, we're doing the wipe downs, and we're quite public about how often we do it. But we're also taking internal swabs and we're recording how we're managing these sort of bacteria count levels. We've taken the step further because we said it's one thing how you protect your venue and the people and your visitors, but the sort of the journey of our staff. So from the time they leave home to the time they come there, so we provide shuttles. Our shuttles are sprayed on every trip. So to give the staff members confidence that you're coming to work safely, and to give our visitors confidence that the staff all check. We do a health declaration every day. There's a QR code we scan every day. That's everyone, every visitor, every staff member scan a QR code, and it's a quick health declaration. So we have traceability. So if we do have an incident, we're able to trace and be able to pinpoint, what's been the interaction, how can we. So, and that's all in keeping in line with the sort of the guidelines our government set. So I think,
That's,
again, see what the guidelines have set, see how we take it to the next level. Us as a private business, we have the resources that we can implement things. I think, and you become a responsible show organizer, responsible venue operator. Yeah, just gives everyone a sense of comfort. Yeah.
Joey, did you have any information about the Canton Fair when it went virtual?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another big conversation that everybody's
Yeah.
having now. Another point in terms of we're not on any level at the moment in South Africa, and
Yeah.
obviously everybody's looking at the opportunity to go virtual.
Yeah.
Did they have success? What was the feeling like with exhibitors and attendees?
Yeah. I think it's new. So it's how do you measure the success? I think you'll see posts that what are the follow through, what are the order take. It's very different that you can't. There's no sense of interaction, so you can't get good or bad vibes. People are looking online. But in saying that, we have a show coming up in June. That was going to be in Shanghai, that they're postponed, but they're running a virtual event. So again, the uptake has been big. So we will attend, we will exhibit at the show virtually. We're running our online calendars. The response so far has been good. We're getting our appointments. So I think people saw it. What we have seen, and we have a big sort of cyber department. They track the sort of the traffic through our website and our sites, our WeChat sites, has been a lot higher because people were on lockdown. So I think in terms of people studying the products they want, you could get a lot more uptake because people have time. You're not rushed. You don't feel you have to. Canton Fest, 340,000 square meters, broken over so many halls. Every time I've been there, you literally have to pick where you want to go to because it's impossible to finish everything. It's so overwhelming. So I think now people will be very specific, and you get sidetracked. You know? I went to the one show, I ended up looking at Christmas decor, but I was supposed to go for chairs. So, but now you're very specific. You know, we you look at what you want, you understand the product better. I think it's easy to build a platform. It's how well the exhibitor is equipped to follow up on that. It's not sitting at the desk. So I think, you know, the responsibility again is from both sides. How do you gear up the after sales? How do you gear up the follow up that people follow up? See what's user technology to track it. So here it's advanced, and how do we make it work for us in South Africa that it's a positive thing.
And I suppose as well, virtual fairs are helpful for exhibitions that rely largely on international attendance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that
I
allows.
mean, Canton Fair, that's the bulk of it. In the international market, people coming to do their procurement. So again, for them, that was a huge knock. And this creates a platform that yeah, it's a stopgap, and they hope to have they do the follow-up one in September. But yeah, for now, to get people interested, ready. And I think in terms of the duration, you'll be able to, it'll allow people to go back, whereas before you couldn't. So I think now it gives people a longer time to see things that they would have normally had a day or 2 days or 3 days to look at. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, is it back to business as normal for everybody in China as right now?
I think it's hard to use the word normal. Yeah, so the permissions have been granted. I see China Southern will start operating flights again internationally. How lax? I think after next week's meeting in Beijing, the big meeting, they'll give some direction in terms of how they'll relax the border controls. So yeah, but people are preparing for a new normal. Again, I think, you know, we must be careful not to be so rigid in our planning that we don't have the flexibility. And that is why we as a company took that approach, the 30, 60, 90-day approach, to allow us that flexibility. You know, if there's a vaccine and it's successful, yeah, we change lots of the way we operate. If not, we have to keep business going. Yeah, this is the rules that we'll have to use. I think, yeah, so it's, people are gearing up for normal. I have a Zoom call this evening with Michael Cooper, the GM for Snake, the big one in Shanghai, and yes, they're preparing. So they were shut down, and that's the largest venue, if you don't count Shenzhen World. But they run at a 75% occupancy. It's over 300,000 square meters, 75% occupancy. So he's been one of the busiest venue operators in China, and it will take a long time for Shenzhen to come to sort of that level. So he's been granted permission, and yeah, I'll chat with him tonight just to see how they're prepping and what's the next big show, and I'll give you feedback after I chatted to him.
That would
Yeah.
be really wonderful.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I'd like to end with you giving us, you know, I mean, it's been really insightful chatting with you and learning so much, and to speak to somebody who's been right there. But what recommendations or advice would you have for us in South Africa as venues and organizers and suppliers to get us through this time? How do you think we should operate to sustain ourselves?
I think I think it has to be collaborative, an approach. It cannot be a venue organizer exhibitor. You got to say, hey, how do we keep the industry going until we can get, and people must have very clear sight that yes, we want to get to what normal will be, yeah, but you can only do that by working together. So what I think, as Dirk always used to tell me, a win-win is when both parties walk away feeling that they've not been cheated and they're both getting out of it. So I think like that, you got to feel that, hey, your suppliers are in it, you as the organizer, your exhibitor who's your client, and the venue operator all feel that they're contributing to a success. And I think the fact that you're organizing this is definitely the right way to go, to say that, hey, as one voice, so you don't want separate voices. And if you collaborate or you speak to government and say, hey, we're speaking as one, this is where we're going, I think you have to show that you're responsible. I think here a lot of the businesses have shown how responsible they are, that they've followed the guidelines that governments put in, and where they could, they've enhanced it. Um, and they've said, hey, we'll swallow margin. We'll swallow margin for the sake of the industry. So nobody loses. We all make a little less, but we all in this together and get out of it together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you'll be glad to hear that we, as all the events associations in South Africa, have formed the South African Events Council last month.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
And in talking to your point of collaboration, so I think we're off to a good start. And we're all working together. So it's the conferencing industry, working with all the MICE and associations, working together for a common goal. And I think that is going to be a great start for all of us because we share similar suppliers, we all use the same venues. So we're all collaborating, and we hope that we'll have our voice heard, and we'll have government allow us to have organized gatherings, and soon.
And as I said, I think before we started the interview, is we cannot see exhibition and conferences as mass gathering, but sort of purposeful meetings. So organized meetings, you control the access. It's not just a mass gathering. And as soon as they see that as a differentiator, I think you're on your way. And again, to kickstart the economy, it's vital. I mean, when we spoke to in this entire region, I'm talking the Asia Pacific region, everyone sees this to get industry going again. Is exhibitions is what's going to kick it off. You've got manufacturing starting up again. You've got different industries starting up, and you're the platform that connects the two parties. So if they don't see that, then we've got bigger problems. But I think so. They've got to. That's the gates. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Joey. This has been so insightful. It's been so wonderful chatting to you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It's good seeing you again. Yeah, good luck. Keep me updated on what's happening. Yeah. And hopefully we chat again soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.